I don't believe that Skynet will be the overtaking power on that respect.
Today, I have probably the most known beard of the industry, Mr. Frode Hammer, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, Frode.
Thank you.
CEO and co-founder of A2I.
Yes, that is me. And now you kind of introduced me completely. That's what I do. Yeah.
So today we'll talk about, by the way, do you know what's the official word of the year of 2023?
I have no idea.
What's your guess?
ChatGPT?
No, it's an AI, man. So that's why we're here. So we'll talk mostly about the AI, artificial intelligence, because we've got some great expert in this field. Then we'll also talk a little bit about various forms of application of the technology, and we'll have some fun as usual.
Interesting.
You're ready?
Forward. Yeah, I'm looking forward.
Okay, so the first challenge for today is 24/7. Probably you've heard about that, right? You told me you watched a few episodes.
I watched the first 2 episodes, and then the show became boring. And no, I didn't have time. No, sorry. I'll promise you I'll watch them.
Okay. So you'll have 24 seconds to answer 7 questions. Seem to be super quick, super fast.
All right.
And let's see. We've got only one guest who was able to make it.
Really?
I believe in you, Frode.
In first take, or was that the 7th take?
That was probably 10th take.
That's 10th take. Okay, got it.
Let's see.
Good.
All right. ChatGPT or Bing AI?
ChatGPT.
Art or science?
Science.
Describe AI technology in one word.
Behavior recognition.
What do you like most about petroleum retail?
EV.
What do you dislike most about petroleum retail?
EV.
What's your superpower?
Oh, creativity.
Favorite character in Lord of the Rings?
Frodo.
24/9. Close. Almost.
Want to do it again?
No, it's good. I thought answering what's your superpower, you'll say EV as well. I mean, it's like...
Yeah.
You could say EV for answer
for everything, right? It just runs through it. Should be in my strategy, yeah. But no, I think it's a good thing with the likes and dislikes. It's EV. You get both sides of it, right?
Can you explain a bit more? What exactly do you dislike about the EV?
Well, it's driving a Tesla. I kind of experienced the last 3 years how it is to have an EV, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't buy it because I want to save the world or the planet or fund Elon's crazy projects out there, right? It's not like I'm expecting that Twitter will be a part of my my investment as well. I just bought it because it was a super fast car. I really like the drivetrain in the EVs. I like the Teslas, how they drive. I hate charging because it feels like, well, you learn how to use your time differently when you're charging, right? You learn how to read emails, you learn how to do the phone calls and stuff like that. But it's like something is dictating how you should use your time. And that was way easier with the petrol car or diesel car. We just filled it up with diesel and it could just run 1,000 kilometers, right? So, I guess that's the dislike of it.
You know, I've been to the Big Data exhibition in London a few months ago.
That several times, yes.
Yes, and I was basically a bit surprised about one thing, number of startups in the field of AI. So do you feel like it's overheated and it's like becomes a bit of a bubble in terms of the investment and people are speculating the concept of AI constantly?
Business is a matter of being opportunistic, right? So obviously everyone that has a chance to grab anything from a business idea are following that. And, if I look back when I started building AI, it was, you still, put something in your computer and you started training the AI and then you went to bed. And then in the morning you got up and hopefully it didn't crash during the night and then you had your results, right? That was how it was. And then you had to do some tweaking and then you could start again and then you went to the university to lecture and then you got back home and looked at the result on the screen. And now you can just pick and choose some of these libraries, right? And that's a good thing that from Microsoft and Google and Amazon, right? So you can pick and choose some of these libraries, but it's also standard libraries, right? So the research isn't really there yet. So all of these more advanced flavors of AI that people have been studying and researching for several years. You don't find them on the shelf of AI to just plug and play together. So that's one of the things, where I like to be different. Our company likes to be different on that part, doing the science bit of the AI and not just taking things off the shelf. Obviously, there's also a risk there, right? Because you have to make sure that everything works correctly. But from a startup perspective, why not? If you have a great business idea, why not, stand on the shoulders of giants and just take those blocks like Lego and put them together and build something?
Yeah.
But if you solve the business case, you made
that's probably true, but from the investment perspective, I hope investors do understand that, right? That owning the technology versus just using API to ChatGPT is two different things. But you started in 2000, was that seven, working in this field, and you were a PhD student. What made you pick the topic of AI back then?
Yeah, well, AI has been, it was coined back in the 50s, right? So it's been like, we have these AI winters and AI summers and then the eternal AI winter through the 60s and 70s, 80s, something started to came up and it became expert systems, right? So there's a long history of AI, what it has been capable of, but it wasn't until the computer power actually was there that something happened. So we actually have to wind a bit further back because when I started to study, I love chemistry. So I started to study chemistry and microbiology and was super fascinated about the DNA of the body and how you have like 4 amino acids kind of like building them together and doing the building blocks and building this,
the
right?
DNA, yeah.
The DNA, it's really fascinating. But there were other stuff in that study that I stopped there and started on the engineering part instead, right? Because I was also triggered by computers, right? Didn't like that much the lab work on the other bit. And then when I was doing my bachelor, I was actually talking to a friend about, he was starting to become a dentist, right? So they had like a lot of X-ray images of teeth. And he was like, did you know that 60 or 70, 80% of the cases where you get your tooth fixed and the dentist is drilling in your tooth, that they're like, oh shit, there was nothing there. But they have to continue drill it, right, and fill the hole because now they started. But they'll never
You never know.
You will never know, right? As a consumer, right? So it's like, okay, my professor, she has like all of these X-ray images that she got done in Brazil. So she X-rayed these teeth and laser cut them, and then knew if there was a dental
mistake
or a caries lesion or not. And that gave you the training exam, right? You had the images and you had the end result. And that's where I was triggered by neural networks. Right? I actually built my first AI project, if you like, right? Try to pursue this as well, like a business case. And that's where you kind of start with, okay, I can actually build something here myself that works, that is completely different in industry, but also kind of pursuing the business part of it. What will it take to start a business? So that never flew, right? So, but when I was later on moving on with the PhD and everything, started to have built some technology which didn't really exist out there. So I wanted to again try to figure out, start the company applying AI. That's when we started A2I, Applied Artificial Intelligence, right? AAI. So it becomes A square I, right?
Lawyers, yeah, I understood it from the first time. Sure, you don't need to explain it 3 times.
Got it.
So how did the transition from idea in this niche dental space, right, towards creating the AI algorithm to handle the price? What was the evolution of that idea?
Yeah, so the dental space, that was more touching base with neural networks and what they were capable of. When I then continued to my master, we started to build together with the largest playground manufacturer in Europe called Campaign, which is in Denmark. We started to build these intelligent playgrounds to recognize children's playing behavior on physical playgrounds, right? So you have like an incomplete data set from these kids, and you know their imagination is crazy when they start to play, right? So how do you capture this data from a physical space, use an AI to figure out what they're actually trying to do, and try to get them to be more engaged in the game, be more physical active? We did that, and we kind of succeeded, and it did a lot of peer-reviewed articles. You know, that's something you tend to also be proud of on your resume, right? That you did peer-reviewed articles at some of the big, that case was some big Chinese and American conferences, right? In the real world, and started in 2007, right? We tried to figure out, okay, where do we apply this? And then by coincidence, we actually ended up with OK in Denmark, pitching an app that we have done. And they were like, oh, we're already building an app, but can't you do fuel pricing? Yeah, sure we can. We knew nothing about it.
So if they would ask for something else, you would definitely
I'd have done that, right?
Without any...
Well, you know, as they say in Formula One, right? Luck is preparing for the opportunity, right? So for us, this was the opportunity.
Yeah, this is what we'll put into the quote on the big screen.
Yes, do that. It's a nice principle, right? Because if you kind of always are prepared and you know what you want to do when the opportunity drops,
yeah,
that's where the intersection of a business happens, right? And that's where we started building.
And back then, have you thought about the challenges that you might face? For example, pricing might be sometimes heavily regulated and legislated. That becomes a bit of a problem for you guys. So I guess you haven't thought about that. But today, how big is the regulatory burden on you guys and on your solutions?
It's actually, it depends on country to country. Mm-hmm. So as long as you make sure that you follow some strong ethical guidelines, you know, it's not your data. Whenever I'm getting data from the oil companies, it's their data, right? And you keep it segregated, completely locked down, and you're ISAE 3402 certified, I think it's called, right? So making sure that you're following some security guidelines in the company when you have the data. We haven't really run into that much from a regulatory perspective. Obviously, in markets that are regulated, there's not much you can do from a fuel pricing perspective, right? Because the government sets the price. But a lot of markets are opening up, asking for competition, right? Mm-hmm. Because in the end, that helps. You know, the more mature the market are, usually the more competition there gets in the market. Because at the end of the day, you want to help the consumer from the government perspective.
So the future is an open price market. That's what you believe is the future.
Yeah, I think that's where we'll be going, right? Because then at the end of the day, if everyone is doing pricing reasonably, it will come down to the service. It will come down to the location. It will come down to how you treat your customers when they're there, right? And it's not something crazy like just a price that drives your business. It should, at the end of the day, be better for the consumer.
All right, let's play a new game. It'll be like a play of three with quarterfinals, semifinals, and the grand final. I'll just throw you a couple of concepts where AI can be hypothetically applied in petroleum retail. And I would like to take your perspective on what you think has highest potential. And let's take the time frame of the next 10 years, for example.
Yeah, sure. Cool.
Let's go. So first quarterfinal, predictive maintenance versus consumer loyalty.
Oh, I think predictive maintenance is already out there in some sort of degree, right? But the loyalty bit has a huge potential. Going towards personalization and hyper-personalization, I think that is really where there's a lot of money.
So consumers win.
Yes, always.
The next quarterfinal, supply chain optimization versus consumer service chatbots.
I think, again, the consumers will win. Having the chatbots there, being more clever than they are these days with ChatGPT and stuff like that, gives you more a personal flavor of the opinion of the chatbots there. So I think that will be the winner there.
How often do you use chatbots in general?
Like
do you like them?
Once a year.
Once a year.
I don't like them, no. But I think I don't remember last time I used one, but it was actually quite good.
Mm.
So they are evolving, and that's some of the technology we're seeing picking up from ChatGPT. So the evolvement of those chatbots there will actually be. I think that will be quite good.
Next quarterfinal, energy efficiency versus inventory management.
And so AI in energy efficiency, yes, that will be the energy efficiency, right? Because the better, energy is a scarce source, right? We're using it way too much. So the better we can optimize our usage of energy, the better for essentially everyone.
Next and final pair, security and surveillance versus demand forecasting.
I think we're at a good stage with the security and surveillance bit.
Agree.
We have a lot of bit of that. So what did you call the other one?
Demand forecasting.
Demand forecasting. And I think that's what we'll be seeing, because there's a huge potential there, both from an EV perspective, how do we kind of make sure that we are not overusing the grid, but also in other areas like car wash. And when do people wash their car? How do we make sure that we are not congesting and queuing as much?
But also from the general dry stock convenience store perspective.
Yeah.
Just to understand where you need to refill your coffee machine with new beans and stuff like that.
Exactly.
That makes sense. Cool. So that was an easy one because those were quarterfinals. Now we're to semifinals. Right. So we have customer loyalty versus customer chatbots.
Loyalty. I love hyper-personalization. You know, as persons, we love to be unique. We're not, but we love to think we're unique, right? So the hyper-personalization perspective, I really love that. You know, I want a birthday every single day, and that should be reflected in whatever I'm paying.
Got it. The second pair is energy efficiency versus demand forecasting.
I think the demand forecasting will win. It's a close match there.
Yeah.
But the demand forecasting, because it brings so much more with it compared to the other one, right? Both all the way down to the consumer level, but also up to the big logistics, supply chains, stuff like that.
And the grand final, loyalty versus demand.
It is loyalty. It's the thing. Because we've been trying for so many years to build good loyalty programs, and it's always the simple ones that win because our models aren't strong enough. So once we have the AI models that are strong enough to really build good models of us, not necessarily as you and me, but whatever personas we are, right? Then I think it will really set off. And
I think I generally agree, because also from the retailer perspective, you need to sustain the consumer with you.
Yeah.
You need to keep the customer close to yourself. And with the introduction of EVs and CPOs and convenience stores in some countries, your consumer base or your consumer knowledge might slip away, right?
Yeah.
They will be pulled out into some other spaces. So you need to keep the consumer as close as you can. So I fully agree. It can be loyalty. What can be the arguments against implementation of AI? What's the most often argument you hear from your customers saying, nope, we don't need it?
People are often scared about the technology that they don't understand, right? And AI is very hard to explain. So the better you can explain what's actually going on, the better they can accept and adapt that technology, right? So explainability will be a cornerstone. It will also, what I see from legislation coming in the EU and also in the AI in the US, being able to kind of explain what's actually going on from step to step will be important, such as you kind of can, just like if you do an audit, right? This is what my AI did. This is why it took those decision points that it actually did, and that will help you to be able to actually use the AI in areas which today would be a bit tricky, right?
So it's just a general uncertainty from customers about the concept, or
that's where it usually was, right? So it's moving now a bit from understandability, because with ChatGPT they started to see the potential of it, and then maybe you don't want to necessarily understand, right? You don't understand always the engine in your car that's driving you forward, right? But you still use it, right? And it's the same with ChatGPT. You don't necessarily understand the underlying algorithms.
Yeah.
But you understand what it's replying back to you, so it makes sense.
True.
So now it's more a risk assessment on, okay, if I utilize it there, will there be some legislation, and does this algorithm actually live up to that these demands from the legislation?
So how close is the current generation of AI is to human brain cognitive capability? So how close are we?
It's from the human brain pretty far. Yeah, it's still fascinating to ask prompt ChatGPT of something and you get an answer back, but you also have people that are still fascinated on watching cat videos on how intelligent cats are, right? And it's the same level, right? Large language models are still just stochastics, right? It's statistics at the end of the day. What's the most statistical right answer to whatever question you've been asking, right? But having all of these data sets underneath makes it interesting and gives you these creative answers that you wouldn't necessarily have thought of yourself. That also gives you the flavor of the creativity. But at the end of the day, it's fed with all the knowledge that we as people have been doing, it will still lack that creative bit where we are way different.
Well, in the pop culture, sometimes they draw a slightly different picture, right? So
Yeah.
what do you think, which movie has higher probability to become reality if we speak about dystopia, Matrix, or maybe WALL-E, or what is the movie that has higher probability to become the reality, where AI takes over?
Where AI takes over. I don't believe in Terminator. It's a good movie, but I don't believe that Skynet will be the overtaking power on that respect. It will be something that is still scaffolding us as humans, right? You have to remember that as humans, we've been surviving for many years. I read a pretty nice argument the other day around AI. You know, if AI is striving towards optimality, right, then it will be mimicking our neocortex, right? But your reptile brain is the one that kept you surviving for millions of years as
not
humans,
only surviving, right? But evolving as well.
And evolving as well, yeah. Well, the neocortex is built on top of it, right? And why would you, as an AI, build a reptile brain, right? That's way too simple. So maybe that's one of the things that in the end also will help us survive on that bit. But from a movie perspective, we'll probably more end up in a WALL-E world than any of the other ones where we kind of ruined it for ourselves.
So, Frode, thank you very much for being with us, and see you all in the next episode.
Cool. Thank you.